Okay, this is number 4 on your study guide. We're not going to answer the period question. We're just going to strictly graph these. So remember, when we're graphing tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant, we're going to need to graph our 4 corners. So our 4 corners are 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. And I know I'm just saying these like we are supposed to know, and I hope that you know it now, but let me go ahead and explain. This is our x-axis, right? So my x on this one is going to have a value because starting here, which is my 0, 0, I move to the right one, so it's going to be positive 1. I move to the left one, so it'll be negative 1. This one going up and down is your y-axis. And since I went up 1, my y comes on the second, so x, y, okay? So I'm going to have a positive 1 as a value and negative 1 as a value on my y. Now let's do this. Tangent is y over x. So what we're going to do, we're just going to start here and go around counterclockwise and then just do y over x every single time. So add 0, so that's my 0 pi, which is right here, add 0 pi. If I do y over x, that's going to be 0 over 1, and that's 0. So I'm going to plot a dot at 0. My radian for this one is pi over 2. At pi over 2, if I do y over x, it's going to be 1 over 0. And since 0 is on the denominator, that means it's undefined. And remember, we graph undefined with a dotted line asymptote. Likewise, this is our pi. At pi, if I do y over x, it's 0 over negative 1. That's 0. So that's where we plot it. And this is my 3 over 2 pi. And right here, if I do y over x, that's negative 1 over 0, which is 0 is on the bottom, so it's undefined. Okay. And that's about enough. And once you can give me at least one of the patterns. Oops. So tangent is going to be the one that's right side up, going through the point, and then there we go. Tangent is right side up. There we go. Tangent is right side up. Good? Likewise, we're going to go, and if you're going to continue on this pattern, you may. You don't have to. That's the cotangent. We're going to do exactly what we did here, so I'm just going to go ahead and get yourself used to, I don't know, I was going to copy the other one, but I guess I'm not. Alright, so, once again, 1, 0, 0, 1, oops. Negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. 0, that's your pi over 2, pi, 3 over 2 pi, and 2 pi. Now, once again, we're not doing the period. Cotangent is x over y. So I'm going to go around this circle counterclockwise starting at 0 and do x over y. So in this case, it's 1 over 0, which means undefined because 0 is on my denominator. So I have I graph undefined by graphing an asymptote. At pi over 2, which is right here, at pi over 2, if I do x over y, is 0 over 1, which is 0. At pi, which is right here and here, if I do x over y, it's negative 1 over 0, which is once again undefined. And you graph undefined by graphing an asymptote with a dotted line. And it's 3 over 2 pi. Once again, do x over y. This is your x. That's your y. So if you do 0 over negative 1, since 0 is on the top, that means it's 0. So you plot a 0 there. Now, unlike tangent and cotangent, it's going to be left side up. Going through a lightning bolt. Lightning bolt, left side up. Okay? Let's continue on. Here's my cosecant graph. Once again, we're not doing the periods. We need 4 corners. 1, 0, 0, 1. You're going to get tired of me saying this, where you're going to have to do these for all 4 of these, otherwise you're going to get confused. Cosecant goes with sine, and sine represents y. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to every y of these and flip them, because that's what cosecant does. You're taking sign and flipping them because it's reciprocal function. So let's take a look. Add 0. Remember, every number has 1 underneath, so that has 1 underneath. So sine is 0. However, cosecant would be 1 over 0, which means undefined at cosecant. Okay. This one has 1 under it. If I flip it, it's still 1 over 1, which is just 1. So at pi over 2, I'm going to go to 1 and put a dot there. At pi, once again, I'm going to find my y, put a 1 under it, flip it, so it's 1 over 0. So it's undefined. I'm going to go to y here, put 1 under it, flip it again, so that's 1 over negative 1. Well, what is that really? Just negative 1, so I'm going to go to, at 3 over 2 pi, I'm going to go to negative 1 and plot a dot there. And here we are. It's going to be going through the dot, kind of like looking like a parabola, but not really, because you're going to have to glide this line all the way down forever and ever and ever. There we go. Alright. One last one. Secant. Once again, we're not doing the period. We need the 4 corners. 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. Okay. Secant goes with, is a reciprocal function of cosine. And cosine represents x. So this time, I'm going to go around the counterclockwise and flipping all of my x's. So at 0, that 1 is 1 under it. If I flip it, that's still 1 over 1, which is just 1. So at 0, I'm going to go up to 1 and plot a dot. Likewise, I'm going to go to pi over 2, which is up here. That 0 has 1 under it. So if I flip it, that's 1 over 0, which is undefined. So I'll have a dotted line asymptote at pi over 2. I'm going to go to pi, which is here and here on my quadrants. I'm going to put 1 under my x, flip it, so that's 1 over negative 1, but that still gives us negative 1. So at pi, I'm going to go to negative 1 and plot a dot. Likewise, I'm going to go to 3 over 2 pi, put 1 under my x, flip it, that's 1 over 0, so that's undefined at 3 over 2 pi. So there will be a graph of secant graph looking like this, and it's always like this. Oops. And then going down forever. All right.